Hi there and welcome back or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Amy and I have an unhealthy obsession with Formula 1. Today's video is a little bit different because we're not talking about Formula 1. Today I'm here to convince you to watch Supercars.
A sniff at the gap, they're going in and he's turned it! He's pull up here, let him run into you, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Oh, monster moment there by Feeney. Chaz Mostert having a throw down the inside and he's bowled a nice one down there to get the job done. With Shane, he got a better exit. Can he convert? This is what happens when you've got an extra K coming out of that corner. Look at the side draft of this clutching to the lead. He's back in it once more. Van Gisbergen gets up. Brock Feeney having a huge lunge down the inside. These are the best drivers of these sorts of cars in the world.
It is personally one of my favorite racing series in the entire planet, second only to F1. So that's how you know it's pretty good. I'm here to convince you to join me and start watching it because it's incredible and not many people know about it because it's an Australian thing. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is the Supercars Championship? Founded in mid-1991, it was initially known as the Australian Touring Car Series, traditionally with 5-litre V8 engines, obviously, and a choice of two cars, either the Ford Falcon or the Holden Commodore. Hence, if you are a Supercars fan, you usually support Ford or Holden, despite there being multiple teams that run these cars. But that is all changing this season with the Gen 3 Supercars, which looks sexy as hell, by the way. Holden has officially exited the sport, and Chevy Camaros have been introduced for 2023. Supercars also features a number of different ways to qualify that will vary depending on the track and the session, and also the type of race. So unlike in F1 where Monaco uses the traditional Q1, Q2, Q3 qualifying, it might actually benefit from a shootout sort of style, which in Supercars they can do because they can change the qualifying depending on the track. These qualifying styles include time sessions, knockouts, and top 10 shootouts. There are also a number of formats over the course of the weekend which can make it slightly confusing. If it was your first time watching, there's the Super Sprint, which is the most common and usually features a 15-minute qualifying session on Saturday, followed by a race the same day. Then a 20-minute qualifying session the next morning, followed by a race on the Sunday. Super Sprint races are between 120 and 300 kilometers, so are nice and short in comparison to some of the endurance events. Then there are Super Street events, which feature 2 races of equal length, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and are held at street venues. Finally, you have the Enduro Cup, which requires 2 drivers, more practice sessions, and only 1 race. Now, there are currently a few Enduro races on the 2023 calendar, but nothing quite matches the length and the prestige of the Bathurst 1000.
Gathered it up nicely. What a great start by Lee Holdsworth, and that's the difference between trouble. A massive sprint.
Carter, Pittox and hold, Pittox and hold.
Carter, track condition-wise, this is an bad rejoin, and another huge incident on the exit of the chase.
Safety car on standby.
And so this is trouble for the Smith car, and again more trouble for Brad Jones Racing in the right front corner of that car. That's not going anywhere in a hurry. Got it on the go jacks, and they may even need an extinguisher there. So overcome a penalty, competitor crashes, weather, rain and mud. It's farewell Holden. Hello Shane Van Gisbergen, the winner of the Repco Bathurst 1000.
Also known as the Great Race, it is the most famous on the calendar. If you're a racing fan, you've probably heard of this event, and it is one of my personal highlights of the year and the jewel in the Supercars crown. The race consists of 161 laps of the Mount Panorama circuit with a total distance of 1,000 kilometers, obviously. With the race usually taking between 6 to 7 hours to complete, it's a long day. 2022 was no exception, with the race being held in subpar conditions and the top 10 shootout being cancelled. It was a chaotic event with a number of yellow flags and safety cars from the opening laps of the race. However, it was Shane Van Gisbergen and Triple Eight Racing who eventually took the win, marking Holden's last Bathurst win as they pull out for the next generation of supercars. Okay, so now you know the basics, it's time for a little history lesson. As I said, the Australian Touring Car Championship was first held in 1991, with a class structure beginning in 1992, Class A being our V8 Supercars that we know today. In 1996, the Australian V8 Supercar Company, or Avesco, was formed, which lay out a foundation for an expansion of the series, its rules, as well as broadcasting. This was also when the category was renamed V8 Supercars, but the cars themselves actually stayed pretty much the same. 1999 was the first time Bathurst 1000 and other endurance events were added to the calendar. Despite them being run previously, they were just more official now. The early 2000s saw a raft of changes to bring the cars into a more modern era. These included changes in fuel to improve emissions, new chassis regulations to even out performance, and ways to lower the cost. It was also an era of trial and error, with reverse grids being added and then dropped, as well as international events, which we no longer have the calendar today, like China, Bahrain, and Abu Dhabi, as well as New Zealand, which is really the only international race we have now, with the rest of them being held in Australia. Skip a few years, and we have the Gen 2 Supercars. Announced in 2014 and introduced in 2017, cars were now allowed to use two-door coupe-style chassis cars, as well as turbocharged engines. As with most sports, there's a couple of greats I'm just going to briefly mention here before we get into the current grid, and there are a few that spring to mind, including Jamie Whincup, who holds the record for most Drivers' Championships, 7, and race wins, 124. Mark Scaife, who is a current commentator, 5-time championship winner, and 6-time Bathurst 1000 winner. Other great names include Craig Lowndes and Garth Tander, as well as current drivers Mark Winterbottom and Shane Van Gisbergen. Okay, history lesson over. What is the current state of the sport heading into 2023? What teams are out there? Who should you support? And why should you start watching now? Well, first of all, Gen 3, cars look cool, duh. And it's really close, especially in comparison to Formula 1. At least I'm hoping it's going to be close. Again, new generation of cars, so that's pretty exciting stuff, regardless. Currently, there are 13 teams in the grid running between 1 and 4 cars each. Yeah. Personally, I support Red Bull Ample Racing or 888 Racing, just because, I support Red Bull wherever they go. Again, winning last year's championship with the absolute legendary Kiwi Shane Van Gisbergen, and then of course the up-and-coming Aussie Brock Feeney, last year being his first season in V8 Supercars, coming up from Super 2. But again, I support them because I just like to keep consistent across motorsport. This is not me telling you to support them. There are, of course, a few other big names in the sport that you should probably know before your first race. If you're really interested, I suggest researching the teams and drivers, maybe watching a race or two yourself to sort of figure out who you like before you settle on a team. First off, there's Shell V-Power Racing, usually front runners, and they run the Ford Falcon car, chassis, whatever. Currently, they have 2 stellar and experienced drivers in Anton De Pasquale and Will Davidson. Another big hitter is Tickford Racing. I particularly wanted to mention Cam Waters quickly because you'll usually see him up there in qualifying, especially. Still really young, even though he's been in the sport for a fair few years now. Finally, Walkinshaw Andretti United. Andretti obviously being a huge name in motorsport, and that extends over to supercars as well. And on top of that, the team is currently technically owned by none other than Zach Brown. You can't really go anywhere without hearing about this guy. He just pops up. So I think that's everything, and it's fair to say I'm excited because the new season starts this weekend. And again, one of my favourite motorsports in the world. This weekend is a street track in Newcastle, which always brings out some general chaos, which we do love to see. So if you're interested, I will pop up the live schedule both in the Australian time and maybe a few others. Put GMT up because that's the time zone I'm currently in. Personally, I will try my hardest to watch this, but again, it's on at a weird time in the morning, probably. And I'm also tragically broke, so I can't afford a subscription to watch it. But we will see. We will see. Anyways, that brings this video to a wrap. If you have any questions about supercars or any suggestions for future videos, leave them down in the comments below. If you like the video, then like it and press the red button to subscribe for more F1 and motorsport related content. And I will see you all in the next one. Laters.